I am recording.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership in Live podcast with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my co-host,
Simone Cherie.
Oh my God, we're back in studio in forever because the last time, it wasn't even a week. The last time you were here, you were doing your own solo interview. Did she win?
Let's look back on that.
Yeah, I don't know if she won or not. I don't know if
Let's look back on that.
She won or not. But in any event, we are back and into a new season. I am so excited. So let's jump right into it. What we got?
So we're going to start off with the rising cost of Medicare and essentially why it may be impossible for up to 65% of Americans to afford to become seniors for various reasons, retirement and healthcare included. Then we're going to talk. We're going to move to, I guess, a tangential conversation as well about Tyler Perry, one of Georgia's own. And then I have a small update around Cobb County. I know we talked a lot about cityhood. I think the last time I was here, we talked about cityhood in East Cobb in particular. So we can revisit a new conversation about cityhood for a different area of Cobb. And then go from there.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's start with the depressing stuff, the seniors
yes.
and stuff.
We should start there. Okay, so here's the thing. We're Medicare expenses in retirement, according to a new study, are going to top over $383,000 just due to the cost of healthcare alone. So those are just Medicare expenses. But there's an estimated up to 69% of Americans who may not be able to afford being a senior at all. Most seniors agree that the United States is experiencing a retirement and savings crisis. There are 43% of seniors who have rated the condition of their own retirement savings as poor. 40% who say that their retirement savings is fair, and 67% say they're not optimistic about whether or not they have enough means to last through retirement and the age in which we are no longer supposed to be thinking about working. So I think everybody's aware about the rising cost of healthcare. I think everybody's aware about how really the economy in general and how much more fractured the economy has become over the last couple of decades. There was a time in which most people, not even in the 70s and 60s, received pension plans or had better long-term retirement savings plans. That onus and the shift to the 401k moved the onus to the individual to save for their own retirement. Since then, most people who are in their prime working years are actually not ready to retire anytime soon, and that situation doesn't seem to change by their prime working years to the time in which they are supposed to retire. So seniors are coming out of retirement at increasingly high rates. That has happened year over year, more and more people coming out of retirement and going back into the workforce. And additionally, people are retiring later, if at all. So would love to get your thoughts. Would love to get your feedback, and then we can talk a little bit about some of our own.
Okay, so at my new job, one of the ladies there, I think she's 80. And I look at her and I'm like, I don't want to have to work. And I mean, our work is not strenuous, but it's just the thought of it. I'm like, I can't fathom, being a certain age and having to work, which I don't think she does because she have to. I think she just doesn't want to be home. But there are other things I probably want to be doing. And no, not a Walmart for greeter for Walmart. No, that's not on my list. I know that's what everybody thinks, but no. Actually, I don't even see. I don't even see a lot of older greeters anymore in Walmart.
No, I'm seeing some younger ones. I am.
Yeah, I don't even see, because at one time, and maybe it's the smaller areas. I'm gonna have to look when I go back to South Carolina. But at one time, the greeters at Walmart were older individuals. I'm not seeing that now. I also think it's funny how the world has changed so dramatically that now we live more for the day than we do for retirement. Because my dad, we get this all the time. It's like, well, your Social Security and South, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Dad, I'm not willing to even take a chance on that because I may or may not be around when I get older.
But I feel like it better be. An article by Money.com came out over the weekend, and they were talking about how even millionaires should be worried about whether or not they can retire just because of the rising cost of living. Even if you did this calculation in your early 20s and you found you had a great position, you continue to earn more money, chances are, even if you've already retired, having enough money then may not be enough money by the time that you need it to last, which is about 30 years. I mean, our average... the average life expectancy has become longer than it was back in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. So people do need that money to go longer, and it may not go quite as far as it used to go. Merrill Edge chairman released a quote about the amount of money people should have saved for retirement, and it is easily 50% higher than it used to be, but certainly that big $1 million number, $1 million retirement savings, which is going around for a long time, not gonna cut it. Not whatsoever.
Well, I think that's the question. It's like we keep doing things that are standard practices, inflation. But we never have the offset conversation about what happens when inflation kicks in and job wages don't go up. Nobody's talking about it. It's like we just went under inflation, which has made things ridiculous. Well, people cry about it. I don't think people understand what it is. But I'm like, we did the inflation thing, but now we're not having a conversation about wages going up. So what is this going to look like? Because inflation is going to continue to happen. And if we can't have a balanced conversation about, well, inflation's going up, but at the same token, we need to have a conversation about wages going up so we can offset, the rise in everything. What is this world going to look like in another 20 years if we keep just inflating?
But that's the thing. It's really not even the world. It's just America, because they don't have all of these problems everywhere. And like some of the biggest expenses that happen for seniors in particular is the cost of healthcare. Even seniors that have come out of retirement and have found ways to earn a little bit of extra income, oftentimes they still can't afford healthcare. There's a gap in their healthcare coverage. If they do work for a private company, that company may have healthcare coverage, but it's so expensive. And for the most part, it eats up a lot of what they do have. We are going to have to address the cost of healthcare. I think period, point blank. I don't think we can get around that. I think we're going to have to find a subsidized version of healthcare unilaterally across the board. Because I just don't think wages are going to be able to keep up with the rising cost of living.
No,
we were just having a quick conversation about housing, but I don't know if anybody hasn't noticed the cost of housing has gone up exponentially.
I don't know how you don't notice. Go apply for an apartment today. Anywhere.
Anywhere.
There's nowhere you can go now to be like, oh, well, I'll live in the hood for $800. Even the hood is charging about 11 to 12.
In Savannah, Georgia, right, which is not a small city in Georgia, comparatively speaking, but always had a lower cost of living than Atlanta. There's an article that came out in Savannah now about how a woman who owns her home is getting ready to sell it because she can't afford to continue to live in her home, only because the cost of living in general has gone up so high. Renters can't afford to live in Savannah anymore. Even the outskirts of cannot afford to. One of the quotes that this woman said, she works at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, makes medium middle income, and is saying, if I have to spend $2,500 to live somewhere, I'm going to California. I'm going to go to California and spend $2,500 for a place to live because it is that expensive. The median rent for bedrooms, without being specific, for bedrooms and property types in Georgia is $2,050. That is the median rent as of late 2022, according to Zillow rental data.
It's scary because me and my sister had this conversation the other day. My sister moved here, and she makes very good money. She's over $70,000, but she has a family. And when we did the math, I was like, "You're barely breaking even." Like, we're talking about like upward to $80,000. And when she did the math, I was like, you're barely breaking. I was like, and in the old days when you said like 80,000, now they was like, oh my God, you are set for life. And the thought that now making that much money, you still breaking even?
6 figures is nothing. 6 figures paycheck to paycheck. Google it. There's fascinating data about making 6 figures and being paycheck to paycheck.
Where are we going, people? Where are we going?
Yeah, the cost of purchasing a home, if you do choose to own, has gone up as well. So it's just we are going to reach, I think, that next big economic nexus where everything has to collapse and start all over because we just pushed ourselves way too far. So yes, inflation.
We're gonna be in the multiverse soon. Mm-hmm. Like we just can't. On a brighter note, so most people know that Tyler Perry is expanding his studio. And as things expand, things have to move. And unfortunately, around the studio, there are a lot of elderly people. So, being the man that Tyler Perry is donating $2.5 million to keep the seniors in their homes. So he's working with Mayor Dickens to make sure these people are not displaced. And we're talking about 300 low-income senior citizens.
Awesome.
And this is on top of the $750,000 he's already given to cover back taxes, an additional $500,000 he's pledged to give over the next 4 years. Mm-hmm. He said he will also cover any increase in taxes over the next 20 years for 100 low-income seniors. So somebody's thinking about the seniors.
Yeah, and I to be fair, there have been increasing conversations in Atlanta about displacement and about all the economic investment and I'm sure the economic benefits we're expecting from this expansion, but how that's caused so much of the racial and income disparities in the city over the last decade. Like all that investment tends to displace, native Atlantans or legacy Atlantans in favor of new folks coming in or moving in from even like the northern part of the county. So I'm sure that he was also under some pressure to make sure that you are not expanding in a way that negatively impacts the people who have already been there.
I still think, and we need to revisit social justice, environmental justice. We need to revisit environmental justice, which I need to reach out to Dr. Whitehead to see what progress we're making with that because that makes a huge difference in a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, because gentrification is a monster now and it's not playing.
Yeah, I think because you mentioned that, it's worth it to have a quick conversation about Cop City.
I was actually going to get that. Was on my head.
Yeah.
Because apparently they tried to file an injunction and it didn't happen. I guess I was waiting to see whether Mayor McDickens still thought it was a good idea to build, how much is that facility?
$90 million?
A $90 million place called Cop City. Now that he's mayor,
Yeah.
he voted yes to that before he moved out of his last position. I was hoping he would rethink that now that he's actually mayor, but it doesn't seem like he has.
So here's if you haven't seen this 10-minute video, 10 minutes, not much longer, on Vox News's YouTube channel about Cop City, please check it out because it's very informative. But essentially, environmental justice is a huge concern for Cop City. I know social justice is obviously there too, right? There's a lot of social justice, police, anti-police brutality activists who came out against Cop City. In one of those demonstrations, there was a 17-hour long hearing in which an overwhelming majority of the comments were against Cop City before it passed. At this point, it has moved forward. And so, but there is actually an environmental justice conversation as well. There was an environmental activist who was actually killed in during the time in which Cop City was passed, and as of this year, this was a protester against Cop City. But also, they've been talking a lot about the environmental damage again to this area. A lot of it, which was like protected, green space.
It was set aside for
it was set aside,
green space project.
And there were apparently dozens of bags of trash that have already been found. There's already been a decrease in the water quality. So there are a lot of people who are also on the side of like, this is just an environmental justice issue, and these are one of the places that we expected to be able to keep, or at least to preserve. And one woman in particular was very insulted because I guess as a consolation, they offered to throw in like a walking trail. And she said, what is a walking trail supposed to do to replace all of this land, 47 plus acres, by the way.
We just don't care about anything. We just don't care about anything these days.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. And we also have to think about the fact that that area, the surrounding area, is overwhelmingly Black, Indigenous, migrant communities. It's an area that's already suffered a level of environmental injustice just because where that facility is going to be, what they're going to have to do in that facility to actually create that ground is going to affect the pollution. There's going to be a lot of noise. And imagine for folks who've been living there and been using that space to hunt and to live, imagine just hearing bullets,
And
whizzing
sirens.
whizzing by
Bullets.
as there's a police training ground that's going to eventually be built. There's going to be a helicopter landing pad. I mean, imagine trying to hunt. Imagine trying to use that space whatsoever with all of that noise going on.
I said it then, and I will say it again. The fact that a African American male voted yes to this and is still insistent on it happening is mind blowing to me.
Well, so I haven't heard anything about Mayor Dickens being insistent on it quite yet. However,
And said no.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about like the untouched wilderness area that it is. Like that's what it was. So
I just don't understand what is I don't, a $90 million facility. I don't understand what is it exactly supposed to do.
yeah.
I don't. That's the part I can't. Especially when you consider and I mean all the vast
Yeah.
issues that Atlanta has, from homelessness to displacement, just all the and this is where we're going to divert $90 million. I can't.
Think about so 30 million of that is coming directly from the taxpayers, right? And then the other 60 million is coming from, the big, really Atlanta's other mayors, which I call like basically this like little, what do you call a group of four? I guess it's like the corporate league that kind of sit on the same throne as our city council because it's Chick-fil-A, it's Delta.
Yeah.
They're paying for the majority of the 60 million. But then we also have UPS, Home Depot very often. But Chick-fil-A and Delta are explicitly mentioned because they decided to go in on 2/3 of the cost of this training center. So
It's amazing how the things that we don't need, people get on board for. But we cannot have a conversation about rent control. We cannot have a conversation about homeless. We won't have those conversations that are necessities, but you'll complain when the homeless move into your neighborhood, which I will say that the homeless have gotten very bold. Like they're coming to places I never thought they would even come into, bringing tents and everything. Like
Well,
it's
bold or desperate, because I mean, there's just no other place to go. We know that in a lot of the times when this happens, there are counties. I won't even speak to Georgia counties, but where they pick people up and just take them to different counties.
it's very true.
All the time, or we'll offer them a bus voucher, a Greyhound ticket elsewhere. So I mean, but when people have no choices, people have no choices. But again, these aren't, people don't just go away. Problems don't just go away just because you kind of move them around a little
Especially
bit.
humans. Humans don't just disappear.
And I'm glad like the community is still out loud and proud about it. Even this weekend, protesting still in opposition to Cop City, and I think are going to continue to, because people just don't.
It's foolishness.
Yeah.
It's foolishness. That's just call it what it is. Absolute foolishness. Like it's ridiculous. But actually, I want to, because we talk about gloomy subjects, I want to go to an entertaining subject, because this was something that was in the back of my head. So when I saw this, I was like, okay. So Chris Brown has jumped on Twitter. Yeah, your homeboy. Chris Brown has jumped on Twitter and was like, so y'all still holding this Rihanna thing against me, but Blueface and his girlfriend, I think it's Krishan is her name, can fight each other, give each other black eyes, and it's okay because it's entertainment. And, you know, I thought about it and I was like, well, there's never an excuse for domestic violence.
Never.
But he has a very good point, because I'm like, if you ever look at Blueface and Krishan, they're always in public acting their food. I'm like, and it's everywhere. And I'm like, so is this what we're showing the next generation is what a relationship should look like? None of them are in the right. But it's just kind of like, where do we draw the line of forgiveness? Because he was, 18, 19 when that happens? And Rihanna has clearly forgiven him for it. So does he have a legitimate argument?
You said clearly?
I mean, didn't she come out before and said, it's not a thing, and she forgave him and he apologized and things.
I think a long time ago she's addressed it. I don't know if maybe I missed the word forgive necessarily. But here's the thing. I think I have more faith in this generation's awareness of not only mental illness, but like gaslighting and emotional manipulation and just toxicity, that I don't truly believe that open domestic violence, which is definitely what we've seen here, is ever going to be considered like a model. I don't think anyone is sitting around aspiring to have that sort of a relationship or even with much respect for those people. But I think that like we tend to have a lower, I do think as far as Gen Z is concerned, that they laugh at everything and they watch everything and they don't feel as emotionally affected by everything.
Yeah, you really don't.
Which is just, okay, man.
But
I'm not even going to go there. But for Chris Brown's purposes, and it's so sad. I was just excited about him. Like I just saw some TikTok where I was like, man, he has just continued to improve. But then he just had to say something like that, which is just like, why'd you just have to say something like that?
There was some choice words in that too, by the way. I just
forgive. No one should. What he said was that people still hate him, quote unquote. You can't control who does or doesn't forgive you for whatever they do or don't forgive you for. Like at the end of the day, domestic violence did not die when you were found out. There are still people dealing with it. If you've personally dealt with it, then no, you'll probably never appreciate somebody's character. Just like if you've had a personal experience with SA, you don't appreciate R. Kelly's character. So there will always be people who still hate you for doing something awful. I don't know why he needed to say that. Why did he have to say that?
Because
I wasn't even thinking about him in the same conversation as this individual.
Because I think this revolved around the Grammys and the fact that he got snubbed. He's still mad that he got snubbed by Robert Glasper. Which case, I don't know if people listen.
Snubbed.
I think he felt like Robert Glasper was in essence a no-name, which Robert Glasper is not a no-name, especially now because he started with all these amazing collaborations.
He's absolutely not a no-name.
Because
he's immensely talented.
When he won, did you know what Chris Brown said when he won? He was like, "Who the F is Robert Glasper?" He tweeted that. So I think this really revolves around the Grammys, and he's trying to figure out why he got beat by.
This revolves around him being clearly. So now I know why you didn't win, because you're ignorant and you don't consume music. That's how I know, because you don't listen to R&B. So why should you win? Because if you don't know who that person is, and you make music and you don't listen to music, I can't help you. So now I know why you lost. I
was shocked. I was like, he really just said that, and everybody went in on him. It was like, what do you mean? Who's Robert Glasper? What are you saying right now? And of course, Seriously. He retracted it. And I don't think Robert Glass had a lot to say. I wouldn't. I mean, clearly, if you've been doing it in the limelight for a minute and you have to go, who am I? Like, that says more about you than it does me.
Yeah.
But I think this all revolves around the Grammy snub to somebody he feels is not on his level.
Well, to be fair, Well, and also I know he was nominated in the R&B category, but I don't believe Chris Brown makes R&B music, and I don't think he has for several years. I think he makes pop music and dance music. That's been the case for a while. I don't think the last time Chris Brown came out with the R&B album was maybe shortly after the incident happened, but since then he's been known more for like doing features and doing collaborations that are very poppy. That's my opinion.
I think that the funny thing about R&B is the lines are being redrawn about what is R&B music, which I am very happy about because I feel like
That's
there
fair.
was a time when we were moving into sounds that R&B has a very distinctive sound, a very distinctive feel to it. It's rhythm and blues. It has a very distinctive sound, a very distinctive vibe to it. And I felt like there was a space where I was worried because I was like, okay, this is not an R&B album. This is more of a pop album with R&B elements. And I was like, I don't want us to really move in that direction because it's distinctive. So thank God for artists like Ledisi, Her, Anthony Hamilton for really saying, no. This is R&B. This is where we draw the line. This is R&B. And if major labels can't recognize it, we'll go independent and we'll continue to hold the line.
But look at the other people in that category, right? Like not just Robert Glasper, but Lucky Day, PJ Morton. Like these are R&B
Yes.
artists. So to me, I'm like, well, it's very clear.
I mean, I feel like they're staples, and but I also think that in the past, Chris Brown has been able to straddle the fence and still get over winning R&B categories. But now that we have more gatekeepers who are like, no.
I think we have more R&B. I think there's more popular mainstream R&B. I think R&B music is having its own renaissance over the last couple of years. So I think that's why that straddling isn't really as good as, when we have Ari Lennox over here. When we have people who are making real R&B, then, I don't really... That's for a pop crowd. Make pop music for pop crowds.
But also on the same note, I've also been concerned because I think Ari Lennox said this is her last album, and Tank said the same thing. And
We'll see.
the fact that they feel, I get offended when stuff like this happens.
You get hurt.
I get hurt because it's like, okay, you're saying this, especially for Tank, because I adore Tank's music. Like, Tank is the epitome of R&B. I will give him that. He's the epitome of R&B, so for him to say that this is his last album, even if it's a publicity stunt,
Or he's just in his feelings at the moment.
yeah, exactly. Or just because you're in your feelings, that's unbecoming of a real R&B.
It's unbecoming.
It's unbecoming
Not
of a real
unbecoming.
R&B. I don't want to call. I'll say king. I'll give him king.
Yeah.
It's unbecoming of a new age R&B king, especially when your last album was called R&B Money. Like I just don't. It was cute when Jasmine Sullivan and them did it some years ago. We understood her plight. But for somebody like Tank to say that, it's just like, and even for Ari Lennox, it's like, you've been here a hot minute. Like,
Yeah,
and
we'll
say
see.
that you cashing in your chips already, like, where they do that at?
Getting your hat and your coat and going on.
Exactly. Like,
We'll see.
how we do that? Like, what does that look
see.
like?
I do think also. So, what would you categorize Renaissance as?
What, Beyonce? Mm-hmm. House music. Like, it's a
So to
new
be fair,
age house music.
I agree.
Which I think honestly was. I'm not a Beehive member, but I do adore Beyonce.
Agree.
And I think that it was ingenious to. You already pretty much got the other genres on lock. I thought it was ingenious to, I don't want to say bring back, but I will say bring back a style of music that's not necessarily mainstream, but is classic for a specific group of people, which is primarily LGBT. When it comes to house music things, they hold the line on that one. So to bring your mainstream success to this particular genre and make some homages, may not have been outright, to some people who've actually stayed in that space, like Robin S., Show Me Love, was ingenious and it was beautiful to do.
For sure.
So I applaud the awards that she won at the Grammy. She deserved, because I didn't feel like she was like a Kanye West who went into gospel music, did an album, and just kind of walked away. I mean, not to say he didn't, wasn't vested, but it's a different look when you really pay homage to a genre and add people into that genre who are gatekeepers in that genre. So kudos to Beyonce for doing that. It was amazing. I actually still listen to the album. So kudos to Beyonce. I was scrolling on Facebook and they had her Super Bowl halftime show, and I watched it again and was like, you may not like her.
Did you happen to watch the Super Bowl halftime show after watching this most recent Super Bowl halftime show? And you decided you wanted to watch a different one?
No, you really gonna go there?
I feel like it was trending again shortly after. No.
I like Rihanna. I don't think I like her as much as I like Beyonce, but I didn't get it. Like,
What did you get?
I didn't. There was nothing to get. I mean, first of all, let's be clear. Now you making me go left. Let's be very clear. Beyonce set the stage about showing baby bumps at amazing times, because she did that with I think it was the MTV Awards when she did Love on Top, and so this is not new.
Lucy.
Like, exactly. Let's be very clear. This is not new. Like, I'm gonna be very mean. I'm probably gonna get crucified for
Yeah.
this. I just feel like it was a way out. I really didn't feel like this halftime show was really thought out. I felt like it revolved around her being pregnant and the great reveal, which worked. But I don't feel like there was any real thought into this show. It was cute. I like it reminded me of Super Mario Brothers, which I think that's kind of what they were going for with the up and down and, the elevated.
Just heard that for the first time.
Really?
Yes.
The elevated
that comparison.
The elevated platforms. It reminded me of Super Mario Brothers, but she literally just stood there and sang. Like the halftime show is.
Did she?
What do you think she did?
Did it sound like she sang?
Okay, well they said she lip synced. Honestly, I was
clarify.
at work, so I really didn't pay attention to it. And when I looked, I was like, "There's nothing going on anyway," so I went to go do what I was doing. But the halftime show is about artistry. And the reality is, and there have been some great ones, but when I rewatched the halftime show with Beyonce last night, I was like, this is artistry. Like, it was well thought out. Beyonce shined in singing, performing, but I don't think we have a lot of performers left in any of these industries. A lot of people are just not performers anymore. You can give them a mic and they can get on stage and hopefully they'll sing, but a lot of them are going back to tracks. I'm just like, Beyonce's one of the few Beyonce's one of the few remaining MJ level artists that really can perform, and you look forward to seeing her perform. Actually, Lizzo is actually another.
She's
Lizzo,
remarkable, yeah.
She's absolutely amazing, and there are just not a lot of them left. And when you pick folks to do a halftime show on the biggest platform, usually of the year, they should really be performers. And if they're not going to be performers, what are we really doing?
Fair.
What are we really doing?
Let's. Can we cover one more thing really quickly? I want to know if you followed these stories. So, because we haven't had a chance to talk in January since 2023 happened yet.
Yeah.
Did you follow the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation?
No.
Did you follow Queen? I'm not even going to go there because we already talked about domestic violence. So I think the point has been made. Did you follow the Queen's passing or anything about Harry and Meghan's documentary?
Slightly, but I don't think people are going to like my stance on it.
About her passing? About Queen Elizabeth?
Just that, and in conjunction with Harry and Meghan. I just...
Okay.
Let's be very clear. Black folks don't really have a lot of say in those kind of places. Let's be very... I think that's the part we forget. And honestly, shouts out to Meghan for bringing that back. I mean, it was her own personal, bout with it. But reminding us that black folks have no real say in England whatsoever. You very rarely see black folks when you see stuff about, the Queen and the monarchy. You rarely even see black folks in the space. Now, I'm sure if you go to their vineyards and stuff like that, you see them working. But as far as having, I'm saying it. Yes, I'm saying it. But if we're very honest about it, we don't see a lot of black. Let's not forget the reporter that one of them, the monarchs, was like, in essence, what are you doing here? Aren't you the help? In essence, that's kind of what that was. And she was like, well, I live here and I was raised here. We don't have very many conversations about the plight of African Americans in England. And I'm sure that's where the documentary should go. I would love to see how black folks are treated and revered in England.
I will say that the last time I remember us having a conversation about, you're talking about working, about the Queen's guards was before Queen Elizabeth passed. This was when her Scots guards had knocked over a black child because he was in the way, I guess. And so they just literally stepped on him and kept it moving. It's a video. It's worth looking up. But here's what I'll say. The show on Netflix, Harry and Meghan, dullest thing I've ever seen on television.
What else were we looking for?
Horribly dull.
What else were we looking for?
The book.
Oh, Lord.
Harry's
you go.
book, Spare. Oh, my God.
Are you really telling me you read it?
The audiobook. I listened to the audiobook. This was the most. He reads his family for filth.
I mean, they treated his wife like
and
trash.
the things that listen, he doesn't come out like a peach. But there's some parts of it that are like hilarious. You're just like, oh my God. Like this feels like a book that really was like written, quote unquote, by the celebrity, at least like with a lot of detail. Like, that these celebrities don't write their effing books. They don't write their books. But most of them are just so dry and so plain. This one is like, he goes all the way there. He talks about, you can tell he's clearly very affected by losing his mom. You can tell he's still very traumatized about that. You can tell the second he met Meghan and there was all that paparazzi, he got them out of there. And you could see, you could feel very much like this is very PTSD from what happened before. Like his mom was literally killed on film, basically, just running from paparazzi. So when you see him recounting these incidents of like Meghan being followed in cars. You just tell he just snapped and was like, I'm getting the F out of here. And he talks about his brother and makes his brother sound like a piece of trash. Him and Kate.
I was about to say Kate hasn't been that welcoming, and Meghan has said that.
No. And people are like, well, this is just his depiction. It's such a one-sided account. He's making them seem like awful people. How do you know they're not awful people?
Facts.
They could be horrible people.
They literally live in a castle and do their own thing.
But there's some irony to the fact that a big feud between him and Prince William was they were fighting over Africa. Like, there was so much irony to me that I felt like as they were writing this book, they didn't sit back and think about how this sounds, because Harry, Africa was very close to the entire continent. But in particular, Princess Diana was known to spend a lot of time in Africa. And that became something that he started to spend a lot of time there, just as a pure result, I think, of wanting to remain close to his mom and understand, like not only how she was, but what she found so beautiful about like just living and being in the bush. And he loved it. And then it became a thing where they tried to send Prince William there, and they feuded and I guess like had a huge falling out over like whose thing Africa was. And I said, ain't this some shit that there's the two heirs to the English throne are feuding over whose thing Africa is. I was like, they didn't even think about this. They just wrote this down. Didn't even think about how this sounds.
Outside of Harry and Meghan, how much time do they spend, all the other monarchs in America? I mean, why do they care what we think? Why? They don't come over here. They don't really, it's not a thing. Like, honestly, I'm gonna be very frank. I don't care.
It's hilarious.
I'm gonna be very frank.
If you need a funny audiobook, if you listen to audiobooks, it is hilarious to hear somebody who I think, I'm not a big royal fan, but this is the most real and the most funny that I've seen them. And part of it, I think, because we're not fans, is because they just don't seem very accessible. Like, clearly,
they're monarchs in a castle that really do their thing.
Exactly.
So it's not like we're bringing cameras in.
But anyway,
wow,
this was the most, they don't do anything. But this was revealing. It was hilarious. Definitely the best thing that's come out to me of that entire family.
It's an interesting story. I think a lot of people sit around thinking about, if I marry a prince and I get moved into a castle, life is just great. Meghan has proven that it's not how that works.
They took her phones, her social media.
Exactly.
They took everything. They were like, no, you need to have your parents come here. He also spends way too long talking about his penis, but I think that's most men.
In the book?
Some frostbite incident. Yes. In like graphic detail. I'm like, how come every time I read a man's memoir, he spends at least 2 chapters talking about his dick alone?
Because that's what that's supposed to look like.
Anyway.
What do you mean? That's what that looks like. Like, that's what that looks like.
Anyway.
Oh my God. Anything else on this list of yours of things that I paid attention to?
No. Well, okay. Maybe one last thing is the Powerball. Do you play the Powerball? The Powerball numbers.
No, I did not play the Powerball. I just seemed really weird to play Powerball.
It was one of the top search things. I think it's funny that you don't play. I guess I'm glad you don't. But
okay, so let me share a story. Because so I had some cousins that won the lottery in my hometown.
Okay.
And it did not go well. And ever since then, I don't have people sit around and think, oh my God, if I won the lottery. No, I watched their money go. And when it was gone, there really is nothing. They became ordinary people again. So I'm just like that. I recognize that winning the lottery will change your life.
What type of money are you talking about?
Oh, it was a lot.
Because this jackpot's like 84 million, but like
of course not that much. So we're talking about like 20 years ago. But I think it was like, I'm guessing
six figures.
I think it was like 6 or 7 million. I think.
Okay.
It was somewhere along. I mean, of course, that's before taxes. Now they take taxes, But where we live, it was a lot of money for where we live.
Okay.
And yeah, actually I should do a documentary on them. Because they're actually my family. Lovely people.
You should.
But it's still something people talk about. It's like your life will change. But if you never had money and you're not accustomed to it, a big number sounds like a lot of money. And when you actually start spending it and realize you didn't put it anywhere that could actually bring in generational wealth, it just becomes a sad story.
Look up, man, these lottery winners and the tragedy that befalls them. I believe it is a legit. They did a lottery curse because it is so pervasive. Even like overseas, the lotteries, like people winning the lottery and then losing their husbands or their families fall apart, accidents, tragedy after tragedy happens. They get caught in electrical storms.
Wait, what?
The most random incidents and tragedies happen to people who win the lottery, or they happen to like the family of the person who wins the lottery.
Well, it probably starts Final Destination. Like once you win a lottery, it's a chance thing, and then after that, it's like death comes for you because you really didn't work for it. Outside of buying some scratch offs, and it's a price you may have to pay.
So negative.
It's just a price you may have to pay.
Or they get targeted by fraudsters. That happened as well.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, average Joe gets targeted by scammers at this point.
Sure.
It's just no way of getting around it. It's just absolutely terrible. Let me ask you some questions since we have been gone for a minute. How do you feel like the Biden administration is doing?
Oh God.
I had to ask.
I thought it was going to be something fun and light.
No, I'll do that afterwards.
So here's the thing. I'm a very singular issue person. So I was really looking at this administration for a few things. And the first was I wanted to have H.R. 1 passed, which is the voting rights, literally the bill to make voting a right. One of my biggest things is voter disenfranchisement, civic participation. They're not constitutional rights. Our constitutional amendments only prevent us from preventing people from voting based on their race or based on their gender. That's all the amendments do, but they don't make voting a right. There's a difference between outlawing discrimination versus like making it a right, period, point blank. I wanted to see that happen. That hasn't happened. I don't know why that hasn't happened. I'm very disappointed about it. There's also the George Floyd Policing Act.
What is the deal with it?
The same nonsensical and ridiculous stalls that have been the deal with everything. Now, I know that there's a lot of conversation last year. I think a lot of the conversation last year was taken up by Ukraine, quite frankly, and not necessarily wrongfully so, and China. I'm not saying any of that is wrong, but these national and these domestic concerns that relate to justice and relate to democracy, those have been my priorities, and those are the things that I'm expecting to see and that I'm still disappointed about seeing. In his State of the Union address, I know that he talked a lot about the economy, which people wanted to talk about, blue collar workers, right? Because we've moved to a structure where there's so much gig work which is not accessible to everybody in the country and in middle America and places where most people just either don't need or can't afford a bunch of gig workers. So we're in a big economic bubble. I think we're on the verge of one. And he did address the economy a lot. I think he briefly touched on Medicare. I'm still interested in these justice issues and social justice issues. So that's where I am. I don't think it was a horrible State of the Union. And I think if you watched it, he handled it really well when he had some hecklers. Like he was quick-witted. He threw it right back at him and let people know, I think that I still know how to run for office and I still know how to make sure that my space isn't undermined. So I did appreciate seeing that he still had like the same vigor and energy. People are always coming for this man for his health, which I find disrespectful. So that part I liked, but yeah, I'm still waiting on my issues.
He is 80.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my issues.
Oh, which brings me to my next question. Nikki Haley decided to throw her hat in the ring and
not surprised.
Pretty much said that our legislators are too old. How do you feel? Pretty much throwing shots at Biden. But how do you feel about a woman talking about ageism on the other side of it? Because that's normally the argument that women have is like, well, why do we have to be aged out, especially Hollywood? Why are we aged out and we go from being Baywatch babe to district attorney to grandmother? And for a woman to stand up and say, well, our legislators are too old. How do you respond to that as a woman?
I think she threw a lot of it. I can't really shake my immediate and recent impression of her in 2016 because people were very, very excited about her on the right side of the aisle because she's a woman. She was relatively young, especially on that stage. Look at her compared to everybody else. She was the daughter of immigrants. She was sharp. I think people were really excited about her. And she also disavowed Donald Trump at the time. Like she said that this man is a racist. Well, she didn't. She wanted the party to disavow him. I should say that. She said he's not a part of the party, doesn't represent the party. So I think people were really excited about her. And I think that she kind of, I don't know what it was. I feel like she just kind of was like, almost like she got tired.
I was about to say, it's probably easier to go with the fray than to kick the
And I'm just like, I mean, I know there was a point where I'm sure that she realized that was it. But it's like, man, like so when she was a governor, a lot of people remembered that she removed the Confederate flag from the state capitol. I think people were really excited about her. So to me, the fact that she just got so tired, I was just like, I don't have the highest hopes because I feel like the political environment has not gotten softer.
Okay.
I do think it's taken kind of a breather from like the intense vitriol we had. Mm-hmm. But I think when it comes to running for office, people are still out here slinging mud, slinging whatever they can pick up and throw. So I feel like if you don't have the backbone for it, then do you have it now? How do we know you have it now? Because you're going to have it to get that seat. And I felt the same way about Jeb Bush at the time out of Florida, which, he was such a sweet man, and I still like some Jeb Bush, but it was just too rough and tough for him. And if he ran again, I think I'd have the same attitude. It's just like, do you know what you're walking into, and are you really here to fight? That's all. Because Trump does not necessarily, skirt around
anything, literally anything. Okay, so since we didn't get to do a wrap up in 2022, here are some rapid fires. Favorite movie of 2022?
No, what about you?
What? What about me?
You have to give me your favorite
about
Nikki Haley first.
Okay, so Biden. I have a very small respect for Nikki because some years ago, less than 10, South Carolina State had a whole debacle with their board, pretty much them stealing.
Okay.
And Nikki replaced their whole board with a new board. So I have a little respect for that because I was really disgusted.
Forgot about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was really disgusted with that. I'm like, why is a white governor having to redo a board for a classic HBCU? But it was necessary because clearly nobody else was going to do anything. So I have a small amount of respect in my barrel for her. This coming out about the ages thing, I think it's amazing because it's such a double standard. Because if this was a man saying some stuff like this and there were older women, he'd be beheaded in Times Square. So the fact that a woman has stood up and pretty much went to the ageism conversation, I was absolutely floored with that. And I was like, okay, are we doing the Trump shock value thing? Because this is going to grab everybody by the kahunas for a woman to say that. So I was absolutely floored for it. But I'm also sitting in this worrisome space of, are we going to have to be fighting Trump off when it's time to get a new president? Does he really have a chance to get back in there and create the chaos we literally just got out of? So my thing is, I'm expecting one or two things to derail him. Well, I'm praying for one or two things. A better contender from the Republican Party who is not as terrible, which is anticlimactic, or they get him on some charge that he won't be able to run because he's been stuck with some charge. What
about a better Democrat?
I mean, our best this go round was Joe Biden. And I'm not saying that's terrible, but the man's 80. Like, let's be very clear. He is old. I was underwhelmed with the people we put up here in Georgia against a lot of these good old boys. From the B. Nugents to, the Marcuses. They're great people, but in essence, they're almost kids to the people they were running against. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of women contenders, which I don't know, but you're talking about the good old boy system. And to put a lot of these newbies up against these good old boys, it just didn't show good judgment to me. It's like, these are good old boys who are really in these seats. You need somebody that's going to come out swinging and it's great that you pick flowers and you hug trees. That's lovely. But when you going up against some people who are like, no, you're not taking our guns, or, this is mine and this is for my people, you got to have a better contention than the people that were put up against them. So I don't really hold, and I haven't really heard anything about anybody really stepping up on the Democratic side to run against Trump. I haven't really heard anything. And by now we should be hearing some buzz. So I'm just concerned overall about the Democrat Party. We kind of gave y'all what you asked for in essence. Now what are we doing with it? Because the Republicans took over the House and they already started with the craziness. And I don't know. As far as the Biden administration go, I feel like we're back to business as usual. So I haven't seen anything grand that I'm just like, oh my God, Biden did that. I haven't seen anything grand yet, any grand gestures to say something like that. So I'm not overwhelmed, but I'm not underwhelmed.
I hear you.
I'm right in the middle.
I hear you. Okay, let's do our rapid. What was the rapid fire question you wanted to ask?
Favorite movie of 2022?
Oh man.
I know I'm gonna be so disappointed when you say this. I know I am.
I'll say Woman King.
Really?
I'll say Woman King because my first thought was Encanto, but that was technically 2021. So Woman King.
Yeah, Encanto is the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh my God!
It's just, and they actually have a live version that I actually keep seeing clips of on Facebook. It's amazing. It's so cute to watch them do it. Favorite song of 2022?
What about you?
Okay, fine. Then I'll go. My favorite movie of 2022. God, did I even have one that really stood out? I don't think I really have one that really stood out.
You thought of the question. You don't have one?
Because I think it'd be more your answer would be more interesting than mine. Like my favorite movie.
What about Wakanda Forever? You didn't like it? Wasn't for you?
Okay, I'm a Marvel nerd. Mm-hmm. I definitely have to say, Angela Bassett has proved time and time again that she is that chick. Her performance in Wakanda Forever was beyond mind-blowing. Because, we think of Marvel as a funny, fun superhero genre. Mm-hmm. Angela made it something else. Like I still watch the clips of the beginning of the movie when she's sitting with the United Nations and the middle of the movie where she goes in on Okoye. Like the acting that she brought to a Marvel movie. And I think that's why she's won so many amazing awards. And even Marvel was like, dang, Angela, we didn't know you was going to do all that. She took it to a whole another level. So actually, I will give Wakanda Forever the 2022 plaque. Maybe because it was
just
on the end of
off the strength of her performance?
Just off the strength of Auntie Angela going completely in. Like I've watched it so much, I try to do the accent. Like I love it that much.
Oh, wow.
Like it was so amazing.
Okay, that's great.
The way she went in. So I will give it to Wakanda Forever. I will give it to Wakanda.
I love it. I have so many thoughts.
What are your thoughts?
What about just about like that was the Black and Brown Unity movie I've been waiting. Well, it could have been. It was almost the Black and Brown Unity movie I've been waiting for a very long time. So I liked all the performances, to be totally honest with you. But I still like. I know it's Marvel, and I just still hate the way they paint the freaking CIA. Like, old buddy Mark. I'm like, man, like the CIA of all agencies, the agency like that is. Admitted to being responsible for the crack boom and the downfall of the entire Black family, and he's our buddy. They don't address a lot, but I know they can't because
it's Marvel. It's
right.
really supposed to be light.
Right, right. Why can't he be a journalist or something? I don't know. He could have been so many things, but CIA, I feel like it's coded
because Spider-Man does journalists. We have.
Well, he could have some other profession. Could be a damn gamer for all that matters. Anyway, songs.
It fits. I mean, unfortunately, it fits. It works. I think they did a good job, all things considered, because I don't think any of us really knew what we were looking at because we had kind of depended on Chadwick to be Black Panther. I almost did. Almost. That Brianna song had annoyed me so much that when it came on at the end, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so overhearing this song. It does nothing for me.
Yeah, it didn't kill it for me. Yeah, I thought it was going to kill it for me because she cannot sing. But it did not kill it for me because I was already so emotional about losing him.
You cried, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. Like a faucet.
Anywhere. Like, I don't even know if I loved the villain. Like, Namor was cool. He
wasn't really the villain, Yeah,
of sorts. I think maybe that's the issue. He wasn't really the villain. Which to this day, my favorite Marvel villain is Helena from Thor Ragnarok. Okay. I still think she's the best villain in the MCU, and they really do something else to her. But I digress.
Best song. Your best song.
Alex Haley. Oh God, what is it? I listened to this song in the whole time. Oh crap, I gotta look it up now. It's Alex Haley.
Hold on.
It's and even my YouTube music so that was your most listened to song the whole year.
Roots? No.
It's oh my God, what is the name of that song?
It's in 2022. Are you sure it was 2022?
Well, I may have just discovered it late. Such a Thing. Alex Isley, Such a Thing. I think it came out in 2022, maybe 2021. But for me, that was my song of 2022. The song is absolutely gorgeous. I don't even know if a song could be gorgeous. That's the only word I come with. Alex Isley is like the one. If you've never listened to Alex Isley, she's the niece of Ron Isley.
Yeah.
She actually has a song out with Tank now.
I've seen her live performances.
She is amazing, and her music is just... So that was my song of 2022, Such a Thing. Amazing. Okay. What was yours?
I see you being loyal to your thing.
I
did discover some new music.
Oh God.
I discovered some new music. I didn't want to at all.
What does that even mean?
It means it hit me in the face, and I was not looking for it, and I didn't want to like it, but I started singing it around the house.
Oh God, what?
It was As It Was, Harry Styles, As It Was. Harry Styles is this new child.
We know because he disrupted the Grammys winning album of the year. So we know.
That song just goes. It's just so pleasant.
What does his music sound like?
It feels, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like yacht rock to me. It sounds like the Bee Gees to me. Like, I feel like it's a Bee Gees resurgence. Like, I know kids don't know what that means because they don't know who the Bee Gees are. But how would you describe? Are you kidding me? You don't know who the Bee Gees are?
I mean, I know who they are, but I didn't listen.
But how would you describe the Bee Gees? Like, they were just, how would you describe it? Just,
I don't know. Aren't they like Beatle-ish?
Smooth.
Aren't they like Beatle-ish?
Someone help me.
No, you're going to have to help yourself on this one because you knew
Alive?
I wasn't. Oh, that's them?
Yeah. It's just like, it's pleasant. It's bouncy. It's not R&B. It's not soul.
Light. It's light.
Yeah, it's light. That's what he makes. It's not too poppy like,
Was it worth album
smooth.
of the year?
I mean, so it was him. Okay, album of the year. Let's have this
conversation. It was him, Adele, Beyonce.
Oh, well, it wasn't Adele. That's for damn sure.
What do you say? Wait, what are you saying about Adele?
So it definitely wasn't her. But I know Beyonce.
Renaissance was kind of iconic. I liked Adele's album. I didn't love it like I have in previous years.
It was such trash. Well, it had 2 songs on there. The rest were all skips.
Wait, what were the 2 songs? Wait, what are the 2 songs?
The 2 singles that she dropped. The rest of those songs were so sorry. And she knows that. She didn't put no work into that album, but it's fine.
I think the headlining song wasn't strong. Easy on Me was not strong enough. It wasn't a Hello. Like Hello was groundbreaking. I don't feel like Easy on Me wasn't a Hello, but I do think My Little Love should have been a single. That song is amazing because she has a child in it.
Oh my God,
the
is
vibe
like
to it.
Weird. No, none of this. No, that whole album can go to me.
Okay, what about Renaissance?
I like it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if there was an album of the year. I would give it to Bad Bunny if I was gonna give it to anybody else. I'd give it to Bad Bunny because Tite Me Pregunto is still like one of my favorite songs to listen to, and I feel like he has brought like Latin hip hop and Spanish music. I feel like he's elevated it. I feel like it's on his way. That opening performance was so good when he opened up the Grammys like that. I think he to me is my next wave. I hope Beyonce keeps experimenting, but I'm just.
What is?
It's just not everything ain't for everybody. What about artists for you in 2020? Who to me would you say Alex Haley was like your artist 2022, like your best artist? Or no. Let me ask you who you're looking forward to 2023.
Ledisi put out a new single.
Okay.
That I just love Ledisi.
I know, but okay, pick another one.
Why I gotta pick another one? That's
Always Ledisi.
I love Ledisi.
Always Ledisi.
Wow.
I'm sorry for the levels.
Wow. I can't. Wow. I love Ledisi.
Is there anyone else that you are excited about for 2023? Maybe somebody even a little slightly out of your whole. If you said Jonathan McReynolds, I'd be like, okay, no.
I love Jonathan McReynolds. That's a given. But she's gospel. Like gospel is for me. Gospel is not something I can just listen to like on a whim.
Oh,
gospel
really?
has a space that I like. In the mornings, I listen to gospel.
He got God in the box, y'all.
Wow, that's what we're doing. You excited for? Okay, so there's an artist that most people may or may not know called Kevin Ross. Kevin Ross is probably the one, and I follow him for a hot minute. He makes R&B music. He's amazing. I think Kevin gets caught up in that space because he's not a Chris Brown and he's not an Usher. He's not gonna be on stage taking off his clothes and really giving you raunchy. Like he's not that guy, but he makes good R&B music. He's a clean cut guy, and his music is actually amazing. So I hope that this year he'll really grab it by the kahunas.
I like that.
And really move into creating a space that isn't necessarily a Chris Brown and an Usher space for male artists.
Cool.
So my one to watch this year is probably Kevin Ross.
I love that. I love that so much.
Just you had to force me out of it.
Yes, and thank you for dropping that because now I want the recommendation. So I love that.
Kevin Ross is good.
I love
what
it.
What about you?
Mine is definitely Chloe Bailey. Definitely. I've been waiting on this album for 2 years. I love that woman.
Have you loved every single she's put out?
Especially the ones that she didn't love as much, which is Treat Me. I was listening to Treat Me back to back nonstop. For the Night, still love that song.
For the Night was definitely
the most recent one she's put out.
The Holy Thing.
I'm not a big fan. I think it's kind of basic, but I always think it's basic when people try to play off of like religion, like freaking like Sam Smith, like. So
I just think that Sam Smith is a case study. Like you came out as this clean-ish cut white boy type
R&B
thing,
or pop.
Yeah, and then now you're just living in your truth. I just think it's a case study.
I think it's easy. I think it's such easy meat to like go for the red and the horns and the pitchfork and like, oh, let me just play off of religion. Like it's just, and some people aren't even like it. It's not even like you have enough of an anti-Christian stance for that to be meaningful to me. Like if you're Marilyn Manson and you make, heavy metal, gothic, or like that type of music, then it makes sense. But if it's just random, I'm like, what are you even doing?
Well,
like,
we don't want to give credit to people. So we know who did that first. Lil Nas X did that first with Call Me Montero when he went down to hell and did a lap dance for the devil.
Yeah, well, we saw it.
I mean, I'm saying, but I'm like, everybody's acting like Sam Smith's thing was that big of a deal. Lil Nas had this same buzz not even a year ago doing almost something worse than that. So I'm like, it's not new.
But
like,
there was
it's
plenty
not new.
of conversation about that.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, this controversy about devil and Lil Nas X did that last year. So
I think to your point, it's the deviation. And I think that there was shock about it then.
No, I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying
I also think
they act like it's new. It's not new. Lil Nas X just did that literally last year. Like it's not new.
At the Grammys.
Well, he did it every place he performed, which is a lot of other places. May not have been the Grammys, but he did every other place. So I'm just like, it's not new.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that they gave it a stage. I think the conversation is that they gave it a platform at the Grammys.
I mean, he did it at the MTV and all that stuff too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
you know,
it
I'm the
wasn't
type of
original.
person to where I feel like the Grammys are. I'm sure if you're an artist, they mean a lot to you. But some of my favorite actors have never won an Oscar. Some of my favorite artists have never won a Grammy. So I'm not really tripping off either one.
Yeah, I don't really care about any of them, honestly. I just read the afterthoughts.
Yeah.
When they give the lovely speeches.
And if there's a good performance, then obviously yes.
Yeah,
you know.
I just feel like it's actually the time of shine because we're about out of time.
Yeah.
I feel like we're seeing a renaissance of Essence in under appreciated Black females.
True.
Viola Davis, Angela Bassett,
Her audiobook is also great, by the way, Viola Davis.
Cheryl Lee Ralph. Like, these are ladies that have been Black famous for a very long time, and now they're no longer being just Black famous.
True.
They're being recognized. And they're not just being recognized, they're taking over spaces they normally wouldn't even be welcomed in. You know, Angela Bassett is executive producer of 911, which I love, and the spinoff Lone Star 911. Viola Davis did The Woman King last year.
She's
Cheryl,
everywhere.
Literally, Cheryl Lee Ralph, doing Abbott
Oh my
Elementary
God.
and really taking that character to new leaps and
And
bounds.
singing her butt off at the Super Bowl.
Which is, none of these things are actually new. Like, she was the original Dream Girl. Like, these
Okay,
things are
fair.
not new. It's just they're getting their time to not only shine, but I mean be a supernova
Yes.
in the mainstream space.
And I love that they're not 21.
And there lies in the Renaissance. Like, these women are not 21, and they're not
Or
new to this.
light-skinned.
Exactly, and they've done the work.
They have.
So to see
True.
them actually be supernovas now, it's just like, it's amazing. It's like
Agreed.
Black girl power. And it's actually not even Black girl power, Black lady power. These are
Yes.
grown women. Black lady
Very
power
much so.
is amazing to me, and it brings me hope. It's like, it really says it doesn't matter how old you are. If you continue to put in the work, at some point you will shine, and that shining is going to supernova status.
True.
So,
Action films and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, yes.
I mean, the shape
Why
that
can't
Viola got into to do The Woman King, I was like, I wouldn't even put in that kind of work. So I'm
Please.
just like amazed at
I love it.
at that. So shouts out to the renaissance of our beautiful Black queens of really becoming supernovas in the mainstream space. You're no longer just Black famous. You're famous. Mm-hmm. So in our last couple of minutes, that was a good place to end on.
It was.
a good place to end on. In the final minutes, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I highly recommend, if you have not seen it, The Reading. Speaking of incredible and remarkable Black women, The Reading on either BET Plus or Amazon Prime Video. I was 2 weeks late to it, but my God, I think we'll see, speaking of incredible Black actresses, Monique plays for me the best villain I've seen in a horror movie since Jack Nicholson. She's giving me Jack Nicholson in 2023.
I can agree.
I'm obsessed. So that's my recommendation.
I liked it. It was definitely something different. Like I told you outside, we're just, Black folks are just not prone to embrace horror. It's not something
Kill
we
that
typically
2023.
do.
Dead that 2023.
I mean, I don't know.
There's
if a bunch
money
of,
to be made.
I don't know if another bunch of Black actors we run and do horror movies because Monique did it. But,
Octavia Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, that,
Go ahead.
Actually, where's Octavius? Like, I feel like we have not seen her a lot lately.
She's got something coming up.
A lot lately. Shouts out to her too, because she's been crazy. I watched The Help the other day. I don't know why I wanted to watch The Help. I just did. But final thoughts are, you guys are going to be in for a great season. Next weekend, I'm actually bringing my cousin in to talk about D&I, diversity and inclusion in healthcare at the administration level. He ran, I'm going to send you his bio. He ran some amazing things. So shouts out to Dr. Wayne Boatwright will be with us in the coming weeks. Dana and Robert will be here, even though you won't. Even though you want in the coming weeks. And some other things. It's a lot of surprise, a lot of twists and turns is going to be in this season of the Leadership Blend Live podcast. So I'm excited about it. Again, we now are part of the Blend Television channel, which is a subsidiary of the Leadership Blend Media Company. So definitely go check that out. All our old episodes, everything we've done is on that channel. It's like a love letter to myself. It's so beautiful. And no, it's not just video on demand. It actually streams 24/7. So when you go, there's always something playing. That's original content. So I'm really excited about the channel. We still have our audio streaming, iHeart, Spotify, Pandora. So check all that out so you can listen to it, watch it, all that good stuff. So we will see you guys same time, same place on the Leadership Blend Live podcast with your host, Ricardo Rice, and my co-host,
Simone Cherie. Thank you. You know how I knew that she made it was because they start changing up the co-stars and making them white.